Monday to Sunday.
It's hard to explain, okay? But
All day. All year round.
it's so mysterious.
This is who we are.
This is who we are. WADR.
News, talk, music, get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Cotonou. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and online at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Reactions pour in as Cabo Verde's opposition party leads in provincial results after Sunday's parliamentary election.
First of all, this is not a surprise because there is sort of dissatisfaction of the governance of the regime.
Sierra Leone activates emergency health protocols following new Ebola outbreak in the DR Congo. Over 26,000 residents face eviction as Niger enforces aviation safety measures at Jori Hamani Airport.
We respectfully draw the attention of the authorities to the human and social consequences that a brutal eviction could engender.
Ghana and the Gambia resume high-level bilateral talks on compensation for victims of the 2005 migrant massacre. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Augustine Bill Coley.
Thank you for joining us. We begin in Cabo Verde, where preliminary results from Sunday's parliamentary elections point to a major political shift, with the opposition African Party for the Independence of Cabo Verde projected to take control of the National Assembly. More than 400,000 voters headed to the polls on Sunday, May 17, to elect members of parliament across the island nation and the diaspora. The provisional outcome signals a likely return to power for the PARCV, thereby ending Prime Minister Ulysses Correa Silva's bid for a third consecutive term in office at the 72-member assembly. Matilda Jazz, a Cape Verdean journalist, speaks with WADR.
The Cape Verdean Parliament has 72 seats, and in the parliament elections, you have 13 circles, 10 circles in the island, and you have 3 circles in diaspora, Africa, Europe, and North America. And then you have, right now, PAICV, the opposition party, won 37 seats and has the majority. The government party, MPD, won 33, and UCD, a small party, had 2. So the opposition leader, Francisco Carvalho, can form the government and implement his program comfortably.
What were some of the promises made by the opposition PAICV party that got them this huge margin?
So what Francisco Carvalho, the PAICV's president, and the next prime minister said during the campaign is that he wants to eliminate poverty. He wants free access to healthcare, free access to education, to university, so young people can have better jobs. And also, he promised to support the private sector so they can offer more jobs for young people, just to contain the immigration wave that is affecting Cape Verde in the last few years. And also, he wants the connection between islands to be cheaper because it's too expensive to travel between islands by plane or by boat. So we can reduce the poverty in Cape Verde.
Matilda Jazz is a Cape Verdean journalist speaking with Abdullahi Hassan. Meanwhile, final results are expected to be certified and validated by the Constitutional Court in the coming days. In Niger, more than 26,000 people living around the Jaure Hamane International Airport in Niamey are expected to leave the area before May 31, 2026. 4 illegal settlements, including Motram and Alpha Jadi, are directly affected by the large-scale eviction operation. According to authorities, the measure is an absolute necessity for aviation safety and national security. Deborah Amour gives the details in this report.
According to the Nigerian government, nearly 19% of the reserved airport land has now been occupied by residential buildings. It maintains that aviation safety and security standards must be respected. The Minister of Public Security, Major General Mohammed Tumba, reiterates the government's firm position on state television.
If they wake up tomorrow to say that Niamey Airport is closed, what are we going to do? People should already keep in their minds that, well, there it is. We have no choice but to let people leave, because we have all witnessed, unfortunately, what happened at our airport.
On the ground, awareness campaigns are intensifying. The governor of the Niamey region, Major General Asuman Abdu Haruna, has been conducting several visits to clearly define the boundaries of the land title and reassure residents about the support measures promised by the authorities.
Land title number 784, issued on July 3, 1953, was allegedly altered illegally from 2013 in favor of members of the Mutual Union of Workers of Civil Aviation and Meteorology, MOTRAM. Many of the beneficiaries, reportedly aware of the irregularities from the outset, later sold the plots to unsuspecting citizens.
Despite these promises of compensation, anxiety and distress remain widespread among residents. Many say they are about to lose the investment of a lifetime. Bashar Hassan is a member of the negotiation committee for the affected areas.
We respectfully draw the attention of the authorities to the human and social consequences that a brutal eviction could engender. The massive displacement of families, and on the eve of a rainy season, without any relocation solutions for many vulnerable families. The loss of investments made over several years without any guarantee of real compensation. If the physical security of the territory is essential, the social security of the populations also constitute a fundamental pillar of social justice, which is dear to the ongoing process of refounding.
The May 31 deadline is fast approaching, heightening tensions in Niamey. Faced with what authorities describe as a security emergency for the capital, thousands of lives are about to be disrupted. For the Dialogue Committee, the coming weeks will be crucial in preventing social unrest.
A report from our Niamey correspondent, Yakuba Habibullah, presented by Deborah Amour. Meanwhile, authorities in neighboring Mali are accusing foreign media of weaponizing footage to undermine their forces. Broadcast of images showing detained soldiers in Kida has sparked a strong reaction from the transitional authorities. Bamako accuses the Saudi television channel Al Arabiya of airing content that undermines the country's national sovereignty. The incident is reigniting tensions around the information war that now accompanies conflict in the north of the country. Christopher Aticha completes the story.
In a statement released over the weekend, Mali's Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the broadcast of videos showing Malian soldiers presented as prisoners in Kidal. The transitional authorities described the reports as false and accused Al Arabiya Mach Ibrahim Mustafa of acting in blatant violation of Mali's sovereignty. According to Bamako, the images aired by the Saudi channel are part of a campaign aimed at damaging the reputation of the Malian armed forces, which are engaged in operations against armed groups in the north of the country. The government also described the matter as a serious breach of journalistic ethics and professional standards. In addition, the military-led government in Bamako has sent an official protest to the Saudi authorities, while also recalling the long-standing relations between the two countries. The Malian government warned that no attack on national unity would be tolerated and said it does not rule out sanctions in accordance with existing laws. The controversy comes after the coordinated attacks of April 25, which targeted several towns in the north of the country. Since then, the OSIWA Liberation Front, which now controls the city of Kidal, claims to be holding more than 200 Malian soldiers. In videos circulated on social media, men in civilian clothing presented as Malian soldiers are seen under the watch of FLA fighters. The separatist movement says the detained soldiers are being treated properly and insists that no ransom has been requested. However, the FLA has mentioned the possibility of negotiations without giving further details regarding their release.
Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham's report presented by Christopher Aticho.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Well, still on security matters, we turn to Nigeria, where the government clarifies a recent high-profile military operation. The presidency has defended the reported killing of a senior ISIS commander Abu Bilal al-Manuki, insisting that earlier reports claiming he was killed in 2024 were a case of mistaken identity. The clarification follows public skepticism after the Nigerian military and the United States announced a joint operation that reportedly eliminated the terrorist leader in the Lake Chad basin. WDR's Abuja correspondent Yechenusa Setu reports.
The presidency says intelligence gathered from the latest Nigeria-United States counterterrorism operation confirms that Abu Bilal al-Manuki was successfully eliminated during a recent strike targeting ISIS leaders. Officials explain that reports linking the terrorist commander to a 2024 military operation were based on mistaken identity and inaccurate battlefield assessments. Director of Defense Media Operations at the Defense Headquarters, Michael Onoja, says the latest operation followed extensive intelligence gathering.
Over the last few months, Nigerian government and security forces have entered into an agreement or a partnership with the United States. And so over the last few months, there has been a lot of groundwork pertaining to intelligence and equipment and resourcing of our personnel in the Northeast. These are part of the outcomes.
International Affairs analyst Joy John says such operations require multiple layers of intelligence verification because insurgent groups often use deception and misinformation to shield key leaders.
On the continent, Nigeria has the strongest, I would say, military force on the continent there. And such operations are done with time. It wasn't an overnight decision. It was something that was probably planned over time. And just seeing how they were able to coordinate is encouraging.
She adds that the latest operation reflects growing international cooperation in tackling terrorism within the Lake Chad Basin and the wider Sahel region.
Lake Chad Basin there is one of the hardest, I will tell you, environments in the world to monitor consistently. They have a vast territory. The borders are porous, swampland, and then the weak state presence in some areas. So you find that groups like ISIS survive by blending into the local networks and just moving. They're constantly on the go. The fact that this operation just followed months, of all the surveillance they did, and they waited, until they had a high confidence in that opportunity shows the amount of work that went in.
The presidency maintains that the operation marks a significant breakthrough in ongoing efforts to dismantle terrorist networks operating across the region. For the WADR, Yechenusa Setu in Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Ghanaian government has renewed diplomatic engagement with the Gambia over efforts to secure justice for Ghanaian migrants killed in 2005 during the regime of former President Yahya Jammeh. The matter resurfaced during bilateral talks between Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Ablakwa and his Gambian counterpart Serine Modou Njai. During the discussions over the weekend, both countries discussed accountability, compensation for victims, families, and broader cooperation between Accra and Banjul. WDR's Nadia Tete reports.
The 2005 killings remain one of the darkest episodes linked to the regime of former Gambian President Yahya Jammeh. The victims, mostly West African migrants traveling towards Europe, were arrested after landing in the Gambia in July 2005 over allegations they were linked to an attempted coup. More than 50 migrants were later killed, including about 44 Ghanaians. Subsequent hearings by the Gambia's Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission heard testimonies from former members of the Junglers, a paramilitary unit associated with Yahya Jammeh, who claimed the executions were carried out on the orders of the former president. The commission later concluded that the killings were part of a coordinated state operation and that efforts were made to conceal the incident. Although Ghana launched investigations into the killings in 2005 and 2006, the process reportedly faced obstruction from Gambian authorities at the time. In 2022, the Gambian government accepted recommendations to compensate victims and their families, but relatives of some victims say they are yet to receive compensation or formal communication on the process. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa disclosed the latest engagement in a Facebook post on Sunday after bilateral talks with Gambian Foreign Minister Sering Modu Injay in Accra. According to him, discussions also focused on strengthening cooperation in education, health and defense, as well as support for the Gambia's Foreign Policy College. Mr. Ablakwa also acknowledged Ghana's role in supporting democratic transition efforts in the Gambia after the end of Yahya Jammeh's rule, with Gambian authorities expressing appreciation for the contribution of Ghanaian troops. For WADR, Nadi Diteti, Accra.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Reactions pour in as Cabo Verde's opposition party leads in provincial results after Sunday's parliamentary election. Over 26,000 residents face eviction as Niger enforces aviation safety measures at Jodri Hamani Airport. Ghana and the Gambia resume high-level bilateral talks on compensation for victims of 2005 migrant massacre. Still ahead in the news, Sierra Leone activates emergency health protocols amid new Ebola outbreaks in DR Congo. We also have a press review, guest interview, and the sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for being with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. The government of Sierra Leone has activated emergency health protocols and enhanced screening at all major entry points in response to a new outbreak of the Ebola virus disease in Central Africa. In a public notice issued on Sunday, the National Public Health Agency reassured citizens that Sierra Leone currently remains entirely Ebola-free, with zero confirmed, suspected, or probable cases within its borders. However, authorities are moving swiftly to prevent the virus from entering the country. Details with Sankule Janko.
An active outbreak of the Bundibuyok strain of Ebola has been declared in Ituri Province, Democratic Republic of Congo, where 246 suspected cases and 65 deaths have already been recorded. Neighboring Uganda has also confirmed one imported death related to the outbreak. While Sierra Leone's National Public Health Agency officially assesses the country's immediate risk as low, Executive Director Brigadier General Fode Sarr notes that the devastating national experience of the 2014-2016 Ebola epidemic dictates aggressive, proactive measures. To shield the country from the elevated regional threat, the Sierra Leonean government has convened the National Emergency Health Committee and activated the Public Health Emergency Operations Center to Alert Level 2, which depicts heightened readiness. Key preventive measures currently underway include border screening at Longi International Airport, Freetown Harbour, and critical land borders including Cambia, Balamuya, and Kalahun. Personal protective equipment, isolation materials, and rapid diagnostic tools have also been deployed to the western area and border districts. Additionally, rapid response teams have been placed on standby across all 16 districts of the country, and infection prevention and control protocols have been reinforced at major health facilities. The NPHA is urging the public to avoid all necessary travel to affected regions in the DRC and Uganda.
Sankula Janko with that report.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, let's return to Abuja, where Yechenus Asetu is on standby with the press review.
We begin with Vanguard. No fewer than 48 All Progressives Congress APC reps lost at the primaries held nationwide over the weekend. Kidnappings. Senate vows to fast-track state police as Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu visits Oyo State following terrorist attack and abduction in Orire local government area of the state on May 15, 2026. And now Guardian. 7 of the 11 House of Representatives members in Benue State lost their seats during the primary elections of the All Progressives Congress. Yoruba Social-Political Organization Afenifere urges governors in the southwest to rise to the worsening security challenges confronting the region. Moving over to Nigerian Tribune. Nigeria Labour Congress begins pushing for another national minimum wage review despite widespread complaints that several state governments are yet to fully implement the existing 70,000 naira wage approved in 2024. And lastly, in Punch, primaries. House of Representatives aspirants of the All Progressives Congress fight back after ticket losses. According to Punch, several other aspirants were disqualified and multiple withdrawals were recorded amid allegations of manipulation, imposition, and consensus engineering. Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention tightens surveillance as Ebola kills 80 in Congo. And that's it on Press Review. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks to Yechenus Asetu for bringing us the press review from Abuja.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, our guest this afternoon is Frederick Ndeki, a regional governance and policy expert. In this interview with WDR, he analyzes the projected victory of the opposition African Party for the independence of Cabo Verde in Sunday's legislative elections. According to provisional figures from the Electoral Commission, the PARCV secured 37 seats in the 72-member assembly, while the ruling movement for democracy won 33. Mr. Ndeki explains what it would mean for the opposition if the projected victory is confirmed in the coming days.
Talking about a country that is a consolidated democracy, which means that if you're running the country and not meeting the expectations of the people, they change you. It happens. There's no power which can be in Cape Verde, as we see in other countries, renewing terms, mandates without making results on the ground. If this is not happening, for sure, you know that you are going to be sanctioned, and this is what is likely happening now in Cape Verde. First of all, this is not a surprise because there is sort of expression of dissatisfaction of this governance, the governance of the regime. And this is what is now, what these elections is now showing.
That's interesting. And talking about the outgoing or could be outgoing Prime Minister Ulysses Correa Silva, who has been ruling through the MPD after 2 terms in office, what does this provisional result say about public sentiment towards the outgoing Prime Minister?
It's dissatisfaction to the end. It means clearly that people are not satisfied of his governance. They are not satisfied of the implementation of the program he sold to the people, which has been bought. So this dissatisfaction is now being turned into a sort of sanction to his regime. So it starts with the parliament, and it's likely going to be acted through over all the process through the presidency.
If this projected victory is confirmed, how could a return to power by the opposition PARCV reshape governance, including policy priorities in Cabo Verde?
Yeah, governance, in this country, there are sort of pillars which, whenever you don't make results in implementing your program in these pillars, then it becomes obvious that the Cape Verdean people are going to sanction you. So these pillars are the governance pillars, accountability and fighting corruption. These people, they don't give room for tolerance in these areas. You have to be really clean in this. Your program have to be fully implemented in these areas. And there are also sort of growing inequalities on the social area in Cape Verde. And it's obvious that the outgoing government didn't make a result, didn't do a lot in this area.
What challenges is the opposition likely to face as it transitions from campaigning to governing right now?
Yeah, they first have to consolidate this victory. We are still on the results are still displaying. They have to confirm a majority, which can really help them do the parliament and pass the bills. Because if you don't have a clear majority, you will then have to compromise that in some areas with the would-be opposition, which is now the current majority. So you have to have a landslide, win by a landslide, to make sure that you will be free to rule. And then implement the program they have presented to the people, which is in these areas I just talked about.
Frederick Ndeki is a regional governance and policy expert speaking with us. Let's now bring you sports, beginning with boxing, as Cameroonian MMA star Francis Ngannou is set to make his return to mixed martial arts this weekend in Los Angeles, where he will face Brazilian fighter Felipe Lens. The heavyweight clash will take place at the Interior Domain in California during an event organized by MVP and streamed on Netflix. Ngannou, a former UFC heavyweight champion, has now competed in the MMA since defeating Renan Ferreira in a professional fighters league bout in October 2024. And in football, Mamelodi Sundowns have taken a narrow advantage in the first leg of the CAF Champions League final after defeating AS FAR 1-0 in Pretoria. The only goal of the match came in the 37th minute through Aubrey Modiba at the Loftus Westfield Stadium in South Africa. The return leg will be played next Sunday at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium in Rabat. Meanwhile, USM Alger have won the CAF Confederation Cup for the second time after defeating Zamalek FC 8-7 on penalties following a 1-all aggregate draw. The victory placed USM Alger among the competition's most successful clubs alongside Zamalek, Raja Casablanca, Estoril du Sahel and TP Mazembe. CAF says the Algerian side will receive $4 million in prize money following an increase in rewards for the tournament. And that's it for sports. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Shekin Jai for the technical support. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram and Facebook at WADR English. I am Augustine Curley. Good afternoon.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Graft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening to Newslink.